The United Kingdom erects a sculpture celebrating strength of hijab, sparking controversy. A forthcoming statue in Smethwick, Birmingham, titled "The Strength of the Hijab," has sparked controversy for its perceived endorsement of the hijab, which in many countries serves as a tool for female oppression. Erected in a primarily Muslim community, the statue stands as a stark reminder resembling the totalitarian vibes of brutalist architecture. Just days before its announcement, the world remembered Mahsa Amini, the 22-year-old victim of Iran's morality police, punished for allegedly miswearing her hijab. While the monument is intended to reflect the local culture, quote unquote, critics argue it oversimplifies Muslim women's choices and amplifies extremist narratives. Instead of commemorating religious symbols that can be seen as oppressive, secularists suggest a tribute to those who defy such religious impositions in the name of democracy, freedom, and equality. So, Armin, please bring forward this image. This is crazy because this is believed to be the world's first sculpture celebrating hijab. This is believed to be the world's first sculpture of a woman wearing the veil in a public space. And this isn't in Pakistan. This isn't in Iran. This is in the middle of the United Kingdom.
But
And
why?
not only is it in the United Kingdom, it's in the middle of Birmingham, which I don't know. Based on
Who?
my friends in the UK Pakistani community, I believe they would probably say that this is probably the last thing that Birmingham needs. And this pissed me off so much. I found out about this because of an internal chat of the International Coalition of Ex-Muslims, and obviously everyone was really shocked and upset by this this move, right? And I was looking on reactions on Twitter, and I saw a reaction from Yasmin Mohammed, and I thought what she said was very apt because the subtitle of her book is How Western Liberals Empower Radical Islam. And this is such a prime example of that. Like, they're erecting a sculpture in the middle of the United Kingdom about the strength of the hijab. Is that not explicitly promoting the hijab? And it's supposed to be like, there. Let me find a statement by the um, person that made it, because it's saying there. Okay, the bottom of the statue says the strength of the hijab. It is a woman's right to be loved and respected for whatever she chooses to wear. Her truth strength is in her heart and mind. I would agree. But I would also argue that the hijab is not a choice for millions of women and that they are not respected for the strength that is within their heart and mind. Many do have no control over what is allowed to go over their own head, let alone the messaging received within their own mind. But let me get your reaction to this first before I just keep going on and on.
Whose money is this? Is this the government or some private institution or something?
It was commissioned by Legacy West Midlands, a registered charity which celebrates the heritage of post war migrants in communities in Birmingham.
Okay, so it's not taxpayer money or anything, right?
I know.
Okay, okay. So at least that's fine. That's good. Okay, I mean we could disagree with it, but at the same time, it's their right to build it, right? It's a private. I'm assuming it's been built on private property. I'm assuming, right?
I'm
I'm
not
not sure.
exactly sure where it is. I know what neighborhood it's in. I don't know exactly if it's on private property or public property.
Right. Okay, so this is anti-Muslim as well, by the way, because it's kind of reducing the experiences of what Muslim women to only the ones who have hijab,
Exactly.
and there's a ton of Muslim women who don't wear the hijab. So there's that. Like, you should, a lot Muslim women who don't wear the hijab, they should like come out and be like, why are you all reducing us to just hijabis? Like, why is this? Do you not see us? Do you not see that we are also Muslims? Like, why is it that every display of a Muslim woman as a hijab? But also, but for people who don't understand why celebrating hijab is ridiculous, is because this is modesty culture. The whole purpose of hijab, they have turned this into a cultural symbol or an identity or a symbol that demonstrates someone's identity, but that's not the point of hijab. The entirety of the point of hijab is two things. One, so so that men are not at, do not get aroused by women's, you know, it's to suppress female sexuality, right? That's what it is, right? And two is to mark them as owned by the father or the husband. So it's a protection
Yeah.
over of someone's property.
Well, and to
So
distinguish
this,
them from slave women.
yes, I mean, we could argue that that was like the historical reason why. I mean, given that we don't have slaves right now, I don't think in the UK we could see like, okay, that was the main original purpose of it. To, but the main purpose is to protect your property. Like, this is mine. Don't look at it. Like, in the same way that you protect your, I don't know, car or donkey against thieves, you're also protecting your wife or daughter, but not for their own protection, but against them being used by other men. That's what the whole purpose of hijab is,
Mhm.
right? So, I mean, it's a weird symbol to celebrate given the purpose of it. Like,
Mhm.
in an era where we are trying to be sex positive, we're trying to be against modesty culture. This is modesty culture, and
And modesty culture is rape culture.
modesty culture is rape culture. Exactly. Yeah. There goes our chance for monetization of the cut beat as well. Like, but that's okay.
Okay, I
It's okay.
apologize, guys. Please
That's
make
okay.
sure to like this
Dude,
stream. I
like,
used some big
yeah, please.
words.
Yes, yes, guys. Please like the stream, because and the video later when we cut this out. Yeah, but this is obvious. I mean, this is obvious. Like, I don't know how many times do we have to say this, that this is celebration of modesty culture, and it's so bizarre that it's being done by people who are usually on the left. Yeah, these are exactly the same kind of values that they fight against if it's coming from right-leaning Christians, but the same, suppression of women's sexuality and, the celebration of modesty culture, if it comes from an Islamic background, they seem to be celebrating it.
Well,
So it's just,
exactly. Why
yeah.
are these values or progressive ideas only allowed and acceptable within basically white Western communities?
Hmm.
This is what I'm starting to realize, that this regressive illiberalism is really becoming. It's allowing
Yeah.
enlightenment values only for Western people. It's
Right.
allowing for progress only within Western people and denying it to the rest of the world, because it's saying, oh, well, that's actually imperialism. Oh, well, that's actually us forcing our values and cultures and morals on other people. When really you're denying other cultures, other countries, other societies the ability to progress. Why do quote unquote we only get to have an enlightenment period? Why only do we, quote unquote, get to have like a reformation of our faiths that then allows an complete overhaul of societal and cultural values? And
Mm,
the more I think about it that way, it just seems so racist. Like, why are we condemning other cultures and other societies to conservatism and tradition, harmful tradition? Because what I didn't realize when I used to be really quote unquote woke is the whole purpose behind the statue, as I was reading the statements of the author, is to celebrate and represent communities that are underrepresented in the UK or in UK media and that kind of thing. But why is it that only the conservatism from these communities gets to be represented? Why is it only that the traditionalism from these communities is represented? Because that's all that these people can identify as part of these minority groups. Is thinking that, oh, what makes them different is these different practices, which all too often are the traditional conservative practices. And that's what needs to be represented because we believe in pluralism. That's not actually a good representation of true pluralism. And what I began to learn more and more as I started getting into the ex-Muslim space is that hijab is not like necessarily a sign. It it makes Muslims within a community more visible, sure, but it's actually a sign of growing conservatism within a community
mm,
because the Muslim women that are not hijabi are made invisible by the sense that they are not hijabi, right?
mm.
But they're actually the progressive ones. And they are then made invisible and shoved aside because they cannot be tokenized because they're not visible for their Muslimness.
Perfect.
So it's a really
Perfectly
vicious
said.
cycle because then the progressives that are doing this in the name of pluralism are actually engaged in the practice of telling Muslim women that you are Muslim by your hijab because we can identify you as it. We can identify you by it. We can identify your Muslimness by your hijabness, by your observance. And then this reinforces the narrative that these women are going to be receiving from the more conservative members of their community that they should be covering it up. I don't know. Am I off base?
No, that's perfect. Yeah, that's amazing. That was very well put. Um, I just also want to mention. Imagine people who don't understand what we're talking about. Like, if this was, imagine if in Christianity we had a tradition of a specific clothing for women that was pressured on a lot of women, that was meant to suppress female sexuality, right?
Individualism.
And individualism. But yet, but imagine then how progressive. Like, just imagine that world. Imagine what would you think the reaction to that be among a lot of progressives who might be celebrating this from Islam? I don't think they would tolerate it.
Never.
There's no way
Never.
they would never tolerate that. Yeah.
But they tolerate it here because these people are brown and they're from a different country.
Yeah.
That's why they tolerate this because that is actually their culture. Hey, everyone that's not from a Western culture, newsflash, you're defined by this now. Like, and these are the people that say that you shouldn't dictate these things. Dia saying, where is her mahram?
That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah.
Wait, is there anyone here that can read Bengali? Because on part of this statue, there's script that looks like Bengali on it, and I really want to know what it says. So someone in the live chat, please tell me if you can. I asked one of my friends, but they didn't reply in time. Um,
um, we have a whole bunch of interesting comments. A lot of people are pointing out that this is shirky. Like Islamically, a lot of Muslims would have a problem with this because it's a
Mhm.
statue of a person. This is like an idol. This is, you know, this is very much like an idol. Like I'm pretty sure a lot of conservative Muslims are like, "What the hell are you doing? This is like you're making a mockery out of it. You're mocking Islam. You're putting a hijab, but then you have a statue of a person. Like this is very much anti-Islamic. Um, but let me actually see. Secular Sakai saying, "Do we call this progressive liberalism or regressive leftism?" I don't know. Those are good descriptions.
Both.
Yes, Zaid is also saying, "In Sunni Islam, making statues in the image of a human is haram." By the way, yeah, it's worse than haram. It's shirk. Oh, did you start Shikha's
I'm gonna
comment?
stop
You
by
want?
saying now I'm compelled to worship it.
Did you start Shikha's comment? I think she's
Oh
joking.
yeah. No,
That
I
was a
don't know.
joke. Okay. Yeah, that's a joke. That's a joke. Shikha's joking with that.
I don't know.
I was a joke. That was a joke. But okay, so we have a.
Mm, Susanna, don't play that ish.
Statues at her home. Okay, so did you want to read the super? Oh, you
I
found it.
wanted to read this tweet by Five Pillars UK, which I believe is a explicitly Salafist organization in the United Kingdom. Wait, can I make this bigger?
Mm.
They put out this
Oh, let
tweet
me
about
export
it.
this.
This new sculpture has been designed to celebrate women who wear hijabs. The artwork, called Strength of the Hijab, was a sculpture designed by Luke Perry and will be installed in Smethwick in October. It's believed to be the first sculpture of a woman wearing the obligatory Muslim covering.
Oh, they're mentioning obligatory. Isn't the five pillars like an Islamic Twitter account that
They're
covers?
like a charity news site in the UK, and they're Salafists.
They're Salafists, so
And they are
they are
very
saying,
explicit in being like, yeah, this is
"Oh
obligatory. Yeah, this is obligatory. They're
my
actually
god!"
honest about this.
So this was supposed to celebrate female individuality and freedom or something like that, and they're mentioning in the
How
description
women
they're
are to be
mentioning
respected for what they choose to wear and celebrated for the
what
strengths in their heart and minds.
choose to wear, but
And then
obligatory.
look at how
Choose
this
to
is
wear.
perceived by the conservative Muslims in the UK. Is this not proof positive of exactly what I'm talking about? This is
Wow.
exactly what I'm talking about, guys. This is why this is a problem.
This is such a good find. Good job. This is perfect. Great job, Susie. That's a great. That's a
But
very
like
good
for people
demonstration of
that
your.
think that we're just like bigots or hateful or anti-progressive or something, we're not. This is what we're talking about. This
Okay.
empowers the radicals. This empowers the conservatives. This empowers the people whose ideas need to be left behind because they lead to the subjugation and outright abuse of the most vulnerable in the community, which, believe it or not, are actually females. We're physically weaker. We have less of an ability to defend ourselves. This is like, this is promoting the conservatism that keeps the vulnerable in the community harmed because it's setting the standard that this is how they need to this is how they need to behave, and they will be controlled and coerced into behaving as is deemed appropriate. And also, side note, doesn't this sculpture look super sad?
Yeah. Why is she depressed? I mean, actually it makes sense though. I mean, she has the obligatory. She's being forced to wear the hijab. She looks very depressed. What the hell are they doing? They're like, oh, I have to wear this. Maybe this is an anti-hijab statue. I don't know. Look at her.
I
Like, look
know,
how
low
sad
key.
people are when. Yeah.
Like, okay, and by the way, if anyone, wait, where did it go? Can anyone read this? Can anyone tell me what this says? Is this Bengali or is this Sanskrit? I really want to know what this says here. So if anyone can read this, please let me know. But and I also wanted to point out that I think this is really harmful because I can imagine this already being used by conservatives in countries where women are forced to wear this in mass, sometimes by rule of law, like in Iran. Like, isn't it so easy to imagine regime supporters and mandatory hijab supporters that are like, look, even in the United Kingdom, people recognize that good women, good Muslim women should wear the veil. Even in the UK, people realize that it's important for women to dress this way. Even in the UK, people recognize that this is, something that should be celebrated. Why can't you get in line and wear the hijab? Why can't you obey and wear the hijab? Even in these Western countries that you love to celebrate so much, as the rhetoric that they would use, they've recognized that this is important. So put on the hijab or we'll force you to do so. I mean, Armin, you are more familiar with the rhetoric used by regime supporters and stuff. Do you think that's a realistic?
That is so on point. That is so on point because they constantly do that. The people who want to, and they say like, look, these liberal countries that are lost in their way, and you guys are looking as a role model for our countries, even as degenerate as they are, they are still, even them are realizing how important our values are, how important this is. So they use this as a way to shut opposition. They throw this in their faces. They're like, you want to be like these Western countries and you want to be free and liberal and have rights? Well, look what they are recognizing. These are the values these are the conservative values that we have had, and we know that they work, and we know that makes you woman, if limiting women having family values, it makes your life better. But they are behind us, and they're slowly recognizing that. And look at the power of our values. Look at the power of Islam that is making even the Western countries submit to how important Islamic values are. I constantly see these narratives in Islamic countries. They go and look for any sign of recognition for Islamic values as a way to prove their point that Islamic conservatism works. This is just plays into their hand. And it's amazing how progressive in the West are aiding conservative narratives, um, you know, aiding their propaganda in Islamic countries.
And we're betraying the people within these countries, within these communities that are actually doing the hard and risky work of trying to progress values and morals and behaviors and practices within their own cultures. It's a complete betrayal of the progressives within these actual countries.
Mm.
It just, yeah. Um, by the way, Bengali Hindu is saying that yes, it is Bengali, but it's not possible to read the whole sentence. If anyone can read this and tell me what it says, please let me know. And I would just like to brag about the fact that I could accurately identify this as Bengali. Um
Good
I'm
job.
I'm impressed with myself. Um
Well,
so
you were a
go ahead.
secular Sakai, and a lot of people were really enjoying all the facts that you were dropping here. People were like, she was like on
My
fire,
truth
and
bombs.
people, yeah, yeah,
Um
yeah.
if okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Armin and I, the other day, when we were working together, we had an interesting conversation about the supposed failures of multiculturalism. And I think this is exhibit A of the kind of issue that we were talking about. Do you remember that conversation?
Yes. Well, I think what I say, the good kind of multiculturalism and the bad kind of multiculturalism. Should I be?
Yeah, try to
Do you
try
want
to
me?
summarize our conversation because I think it's important for people to hear.
All right. So, what the way I talk about culture is, I my under the way I see it is culture has two different meanings that require to have two different words, but unfortunately they have the same word that refers to two groups of different things, right? And I don't think that it confuses everything, right? So culture could be referring to music, dance, art, calligraphy, architecture, different kind of food and traditions and customs that are mostly associated with people having enjoy things that enriches your life with more variety of customs and traditions and art and all that stuff. Like, so that's one category that people refer to as culture, right? Fashion, right? Another thing that people refer to as culture is values, ways of living, you know, ethical standards, moral standards, and ethical standards, right? That's a completely different thing. And when somebody says it's their culture or it's my culture, is referring to one of these two things. And I don't think they are like each other. I don't understand why we call both of these culture, right? So when it comes to the first category, I think the more the merrier. You know, just there should be no people should be able to it should evolve, it should mix, it should travel between people and borders, and the more of that culture goes anywhere, the more variety that you have, the better. The more access do you have to different kinds of culture that you could enjoy, the more it improves people's lives, it increases well-being, it brings people closer together, that enjoying different kinds of music like Argentinian dance, Japanese food, Arabic dance, some Bengali music, I don't know, different, all of this,
Poetry, language classes.
poetry. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So obviously when it comes to that, there should be zero barriers. I think zero barriers. But when it comes to the second one, not only there should be barriers, we should be actively trying to annihilate the inferior ones, right? When it comes to values, when it comes to moral standards, there are good ones and there are bad ones. When it comes to the first category, it's just a matter of taste. I could be an Iranian that enjoys Greek culture. You could be an Argentinian that enjoys Japanese culture. It's just a matter of taste. There is no good and universal good or bad. It comes down to your personal preferences. But when it comes to the second category, we have superior culture and we have inferior culture. And not only we should have a barrier for inferior culture, we should actually go from the defense mode to an offensive mode, and not just try to guard against it, but actively try to go and destroy inferior culture.
Yeah,
We don't
I
have
mean, I've gotten
yeah,
to a
yeah.
point where I'm like, I feel like we should demand acceptance of these values.
Yeah, of
Not
course.
like, "Oh, yeah, we should encourage it." No, we should demand it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I'm appalled by the idea and
Right.
knowledge that there are women and girls abused under these pretexts in my community, in my country. It's abhorrent.
Right.
It's unacceptable.
Yeah.
They have
And
rights that are abused and denied to them on the basis of culture. I reject that.
and ba- basically, for before people think like we're talking about something fascistic here, we're basically talking is you have to accept gay rights. You have no choice but to accept gay rights and trans rights. Okay? You have to accept women's rights. There is no choice. You have to accept that secularism and
The rights
democracy,
of the child.
rights of children. Yeah.
More than anything,
Yeah.
you have to accept free expression. I demand that you accept
Yeah.
free expression.
This is basically the whole idea of a republic. Not everything is up for a vote. There are certain rights that are not up for discussion. And if your inferior culture doesn't like it, get the f out, or just submit to the liberal order, because it's making it work. Yeah, submit. You have to, I know you want to submit to Allah, but we don't, if I know you want to submit to Islamic values, but you're not allowed. In secular, democratic, secular countries, you have to accept that these countries have progressed because of certain values, and they're not up for negotiation. That's the whole point of having constitutions, because there are certain rights that are not up for discussion.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Secular Sakai, we need to have the language be on our side. The negative and toxic practices cannot be allowed to be called quote unquote culture. Exactly. Otherwise, those who oppose it are called bigots. Exactly. And I think a lot of people from any given culture are offended, and rightfully so, when horrific, horrendous abuse is attributed to their culture. It's harmful tradition. It's harmful tradition and practice.
Mm.
We got a few super chats that I want to address from the last segment. Gasian American is
Before,
saying, oh,
oh,
go ahead.
no, you go ahead with that. I start a few
Gasian
comments I want
American
to.
is saying they should have 3 statues, one veiled and proud, one unveiled, and one nude and proud. Maybe also mask and proud for the immunocompromised folks. Can you imagine if they
Oh.
had a fully naked female statue next to a hijabi statue in the middle of Birmingham? I would love to see how that would go down. I would love to see how that would go down. Um, Benny Wolf just gave us a $2 super chat with no comment. Thank you, Benny. And this is, I think, a very good analogy or comparison that Gasian is making. He's saying, imagine if China's image of Europeans was as Catholic nuns. They're like, oh
Oh,
yeah, we need
int- that's
representations
it.
of like Euro
Yeah,
foreigners. Let's erect statues of Catholic nuns. And people would be like,
I see.
what? um. Okay, go ahead.
Oh yeah, so Darko is saying, yeah, that's a very good comparison, Gasian.
I
That
like
was good.
that.
Darko, yeah. So Darko is saying, yeah, some values are just non-negotiable. Exactly, I agree. And also, GJ is saying liberals ought to fight for liberal values. Yep. I mean, imagine that concept. I mean, what's the point of being liberal if you're not going to stand for liberalism,
Well, because
right?
they're not liberals. They're not actual liberals.
Yeah. And GJ is saying, who gets to choose the standards? Okay, so here's the thing. That's a good question. It's not who, it's what. All right. And empirical data. Okay. What, based on the information that we have, based on scientifically collected data that are also scientifically analyzed, we could see what works. We see what makes societies progress.
And
Imagine
prosper
being,
and flourish
yeah. I mean,
economically and
imagine being,
socially.
yeah, imagine being a progressive that actually wants societies to progress based on scientifically collected data, right? Do you know who makes the most amazing, gorgeous, and other adjectives that I can't use here on YouTube, blasphemous art ever? We do. And for some reason, we are giving it away for free. Download them now using the link in the description before we change our mind.